This never happens. I have a 2023 Ram, Ford, and Chevy, Rebel, Tremor, and Trail Boss. These are the most capable off-road trucks from the big three. And in this video, we're gonna figure out which one is the better buy. Special shout out to Jerry Seiner Chevy here in Salt Lake City, and Larry H. Miller Super Ford here in Salt Lake City, and Larry H. Miller Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram in Sandy, Utah. They did allow me to do this video. Let's get into it. Now, obviously, everyone is a fanboy in their own little mind, but we can't do that today. We have to pick the best off-roader. So here's what I'm gonna do. I don't ever do this on my channel, but we're gonna do something a little different. We gotta select 3 categories. Number 1 is obviously pricing. Which truck has the best starting price? Number 2, engine choices. Everyone is different in how they drive their vehicle. So which truck offers the best selection of engines? And number 3, these are off-road trucks, right? So which truck offers the most features for doing the business? Let's get started. I guess we're gonna be doing this in alphabetical order. I did not do this on purpose, by the way. So Chevy goes first. Now, let's be honest here. Trail Boss is a pretty cool name. Like, if you go to your friend's house and he asks you what kind of truck you have, you don't have to say Silverado. You can just say you have a Trail Boss. And I mean, that's a really good conversation starter, right? I don't know, maybe not. But one thing I love about this truck is they give you this black painted bumper up front, and it gives it a really, really nice like accent to the white paint. And on top of that, blacked out front grille, and it has like a bright paint to it too. And full LED headlights come standard on the LT model. And check out the hood. You have that big bolster black trim piece here, so it really does go well together. You have that Z71 badge, red tow hooks down below, and check out the styling on the fog lights. Now let's go ahead and jump down here. Let's see. Now there is a skid plate right there. It is plastic, however you see there's aluminum skid plate right there. But for the most part right here, this is all kind of open. Now off to the side, I'm actually new to this. You can actually get the Goodyear Wrangler Territory MTs. These are basically the same tires on the ZR2. It does come standard, however, with the Duratrax, which are not my favorite tires. And one of the other trucks has that tire. But I can't wait to drive this truck later because I'm gonna drive all 3 of these, by the way. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and make sure you get that notification for that video. We're gonna check out MPG, 0 to 60, all that good stuff. But yeah, you have the Goodyear Wrangler Territories. However, this is the shortest tire in this segment here too, so 32-inch tire, unfortunately. And again, the overall styling is nice. Down below, you have those high clearance steps, which are great for off-roading. And Trail Boss is stamped right here. 24-gallon fuel tank is gonna hurt this truck. There's no other option for this segment for Chevy Silverado. And out back, black painted bumpers, and check out your tailgate. Most likely gonna be assisted. Spray and bed liners there. You have some lights back here too. Let's see if it's power going back up. Oh, look at Chevy flexing. Now, some of these things are an option, I get that. But let's take a look at the price point. The 2023 Chevy Silverado LT Trail Boss starts at $58,300. Now, there is a custom model which would really get you close to that 50 grand range. But I think in this segment, compared to these 2 trucks, we need to use the LT. Now let's go ahead and check out the Ford. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The Ford F-150 Tremor is the grown-up off-roader. And what I mean by that is, this truck does not scream at you that I'm off-road. It's very subtle, it's very clean, Even the colors they use, like they have this burnt orange on the tow hooks, on the grill, and it's just really subtle. Love the avalanche paint, and even the fins or gills, whatever you want to call this, on the hood from the Raptor, they add a nice accent and they don't really take away from the styling. LED low beam and high beam headlights with some incandescent bulbs. Fog lights are LED as well. Parking sensors are pretty much right there. Now I didn't mention, but both of these trucks, the Chevy and the Ford, have the 360 camera views. And let's check out the skid plate down below. Now this part here, this is gonna be plastic, but check out how huge this skid plate is, and then how far back it goes right there too. So there's a lot more protection on this truck compared to the Chevy. What's even more is they have a Tremor tuned suspension. So if you look at the shock absorbers, they say Tremor on them, and they actually tuned them specifically for this truck. Now this truck also has general grabber tires. They're all terrains, pretty aggressive, but I think that Chevy wins the aggression test so far. However, these are not 32-inch tires. However, they are 33-inch tires, so 275, 70, 18. Here's Ford's iteration of their high clearance steps. Really nice design. And again, I love their trim pieces that they add to this truck and painted door handles. I think this is a really nice grown-up truck. You also have the option to get a larger fuel tank, which is a big deal. And I didn't show this to you on the Chevy side of the house, but you do have leaf springs out back too, and that might be worth noting before we get to the Ram. Now obviously Ford likes to flex, so they gave you some recovery hooks on the back because they know you're gonna be pulling out your Chevy and your Ram guys here. Anybody? I thought that was pretty funny. But nevertheless, let's check out your tailgate. Okay, so it is assisted. Ford loves their step for the bed, which does come in handy. And although this truck doesn't have a spray and bed liner, it is available. Here's some of your power plugs out back, bed lighting, and they do provide a button back here to push to allow those to come on. Now let's see if this is power going back up. It is not. However, that is available. Love the dual exhaust. It's finished in black. Very clean truck. Nothing screams off-roader quite like Ram Rebel. This truck is truly a rebel because they go with a totally different front bumper, grille, and the only thing that's really a carryover is the headlights. But even check out the hood. You have this aggressive sport performance hood, and if that's not enough, they allow you to add these ridiculous like decals. They look really cool, and I think they go well with this bright blue paint. Full LED headlights, turn signals, fog lights, and check out your parking sensors. One thing I love about Ram is they do hide them extremely well. And even off to the side here, in case you hit a tree branch, they want to remind you that this truck is pretty wide. Now Ram goes about tow hooks a little different from Ford and GM. Not only are theirs just black, but they are a little bit bigger. And I like this the most because if you get these scuffed up, they won't look that bad, and you can just spray paint them. But this front bumper is going to be metal. And let's see, down below. Oh, there's not as much protection under this truck. Interesting. So there is a skid plate right there to protect that transfer case. But apart from that, there's not much below compared to the other two. Now off to the side, Ram is still rocking these Goodyear Wrangler dirt tracks. The plus to this is this. These are 33-inch tire, LT 275/70 18. The other benefit is they're using Bilstein shocks. I love Bilsteins. Bilsteins are some of the best shock absorbers on the market. I test drove a long time ago a Subaru Legacy GT, It's actually like a Spec B, I believe it was, and it had that suspension on it. Black door handles go super well with this paint, and you have that black bottom, so you have that two-tone, and there's not a lot of chrome on this truck. You have the blacked out wheels, and then check out these tow mirrors. So if you need to do some work, you have that availability. You also have the option to get a larger fuel tank, and then out back, coiled suspension, which in my opinion is probably the best for going off-road. Check out your back here. Pretty aggressive. This truck is really in your face, and you have that black bumper down below, and assisted tailgate, no spray in bed liner. Ooh, and there's no LED lights for the bed on this build. Now, I'll tell you why that's a problem here in a second. So let's check out the interior, and let's talk about how much higher does the Rebel sit compared to the regular Ram trucks. Well, this truck does have a 2-inch lift, and they do provide this grab handle, which makes it pretty easy to get in. And then check out the door card here. There is some standard and optional equipment, like those seat memories are going to be optional. Telescoping steering wheel, full digital gauge cluster right there. And let's talk about the screen here. This screen is a 12-inch. However, it does come standard with an 8.4-inch display. And if you need some control on the trail, you do have downhill assist here, and you do have axle lock. Now, this does not have four-wheel drive auto, and that is pretty interesting. Ram does give you off-road pages, and then check this out. Great for going off-road. It does show you the altitude you're at. Love that. Accessory gauges are right here to show you how your temperatures are doing if you're doing a lot of rock climbing, and then your pitch and roll. Now, as far as Ford goes, it's about 1 inch taller with the trimmers compared to the other F-150s. And as I mentioned earlier, this interior is for grown-ups. These are going to be like a cloth material right there. You do have a power seat still, telescoping steering wheel, and getting in pretty easy. This one does have those running boards, and that grab handle comes in handy. You do have axle lock out back. Now, this truck does not have four-wheel drive auto either. And no digital cluster that is available, however, on the Tremor. Now, Ford does give you a little bit of information in this screen, so I think I do like Ram's a little bit better. So it shows you pitch and roll, and then the off-road status, so it lets you know whether you're in 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, 4-low, anything like that. The Trail Boss has about a 2-inch lift compared to the other Silverados, and this interior is pretty much what you would see on an LT with leather. It's not a bad thing, but I feel like, what's that saying? The drapes don't match. Nah, never mind. I'm not going to try to remember because I can't right now. But nevertheless, the exterior does not match the interior. That's just all I'm saying. You have a 2-speed transfer case, so you can have that automatic there. Grab handle. And let me go ahead and start it up. Push button start, which was for all 3 trucks. They do provide a normal mode and an off-road mode, as you can see there. Downhill assist is right there. And there is no button to lock the rear axle because it's automatic. So let's talk about the powertrain, starting off with Ford. Ford has 2 engine options for the Tremor. Number 1, 5.0 Coyote engine, and number 2, this 3.5 liter beast. 400 horsepower, 500 pound-feet of torque, and it is mated to a 10-speed transmission. Now, let's discuss Chevy's next. Chevy is probably the leader in the segment for engine options. This has the 5.3 liter, which has 355 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque, mated to the same transmission in the Ford, because they designed that transmission together. And they also have a 6.2 liter, which has 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque, and they have their secret weapon, the mighty diesel. That engine has class-leading torque only because the other 2 don't offer a diesel anymore. So I wish they did, and I think that you guys kind of know how the powertrain is going to end at this point. I almost forgot, there is a 2.7 liter 4-cylinder turbo available, which has pretty strong power numbers too. Now, the Ram did offer a diesel for 2023, but right now, as I'm doing this video, they're no longer available. So this truck does have the optional 5.7 liter V8 with e-torque. So 395 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque. And you have the supplemental power from this generator here. However, the standard engine is a V6, naturally aspirated. That's kind of embarrassing. So Ram most likely will be adding a inline 6 twin turbo engine, which I cannot wait to test, because depending on which one they put in the truck, they have a standard output and a high output. If it's the high output, it's going to be ridiculously fast. If it's the standard output, it still might beat this engine, because I drove it in a Wagoneer, and let's just say it was pretty amazing. But last but not least, pricing, right? And we gotta go over payload, as I always do. So let's go ahead and start with pricing on the Ram. Ram is $57,190 with an $1,895 destination. Ford has a base price of $61,110 with an $1,895 destination. And the Chevy has a standard vehicle price of $58,300 with a destination of $1,895. So for the fact of pricing and features, the Ram is definitely the most expensive truck tested here today. This truck is $73,000. The Ford is about $67 and some change, and the Chevy is about $68 and some change. So basically leather seats, sunroof, spray and bed liner, it still has the running boards, LED headlights come standard, larger screens. It almost didn't beat the Ford because of that. It does have a lot more driving features for going off-road. Like, it has the trail turn assist, it has cruise control for the trail. I mean, there's so many different things. It has more driving modes. However, I love the off-road pages on the Ram. The Ram definitely has the most aggressive styling here too, and I felt like the Ram was the most comfortable truck to sit in too. So which truck wins in terms of style, pricing, and features? You ready for this? Well, it's gonna be the Ford. Even though the Ford doesn't have the most features, there is a lot of things that do come standard on this truck. For example, the 12-inch display. And even though Chevy's is larger, and even though the Chevy does have a digital gauge cluster, there's no denying the price point. This truck feels dressed up for what it is. And having the 360 camera view, having the trail control, I mean, like, there's trail 1 pedal drive. There's a few other things too that you can do with this truck. And I just think that having the rear locker, downhill assist, there's just a lot of different things that come available, and having the V6 is huge. Now, something else I did not mention yet in the video is this truck does have a 373 versus Ram's 392, and you know, Chevy has the highest gearing out back. It's 323 out back, I believe. 323? I don't know if you guys can see. Yes, 323. Keep in mind as well, this truck did have 33-inch tires. And I think I like the overall styling the best too. It had the recovery hooks out back. Neither one of these trucks had that feature. And so they do tune the suspension the best in the segment. So again, the Ford definitely won today. Now let's go ahead and look at the payload for every truck. And you want to stay tuned for the next video. For the Chevy, 1581. And the rear gross axle weight rating is going to be 3,800 pounds. On the Ford, 1,688 pounds of payload, and the rear gross axle weight rating is going to be 3,800 pounds. Ram, you're going to have a 1,404 pound payload with class leading 4,100 pound rear gross axle weight rating. So there you have it. Ford also has the biggest payload of the bunch. And I think that is the better buy in this segment. Now, once you start adding a bunch of options to your truck, the Chevy becomes the better option. And if you want like the coolest off-roader, obviously I think that the Ram wins that. But here's what I'm gonna do. In the next video, we're gonna drive all 3 trucks back to back to back. Which one is gonna get the best fuel economy? Which one is gonna get the best acceleration? All that good stuff coming soon. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next one.